is your Phoenix Primals versus the Scotland Stouts, and we've got a Serena and Donphan lead here. He goes straight for the Terra Ice, going for that triple axle. A solid play to try to break sturdy and potentially get through, but it does not work, and we're able to get up our Stealth Rocks. Unfortunately, we are not in Custap range yet, so we go ahead and switch into the Skeletor's, predicting the Rapid Spin, which is in fact what happens. So the rocks are still up for the time being. That knockoff does quite a bit of damage, actually, considering. Predicting to switch into Flash Fire Arcanine, I went for the Shadow Ball, but alas, that was not the case. So now I go ahead and slack off. We don't really like this Araquanid matchup, so we're going to swap right into Iron Bundle here. So if this thing is vested, Choice Specs Freeze Dry will not do a lot, but it does significant amounts, which tells me it is in fact not vested, but it's still not quite enough for a KO. But we do get the Lucky Freeze, however. So there's that. And Araquanid goes down. In comes Jirachi, which is a huge pain in the ass, especially when you get like Paraflinch shenanigans with like Iron Head and stuff like that. But they end up going for their own rocks as I switch out into Skeledirge. I'm still trying to play around Flash Fire potentially because I haven't seen the Arcanine set yet, but I decided to go for the Torch Song anyway, just because even if he switches, I can at least verify it. And Flare Blitz isn't going to do much to Skeledirge regardless. So now I just keep spamming Torch Song just because there's no reason not to be honest with you. They go for the Flash Cannon, which is not going to do a lot. I slack off because I'm not sure how much Future Sight's going to do. I am max Special Defense, max HP. That does not a lot, so I don't really have too much to worry about. Here comes the Raging Bolt. So we get up to we get another special attack boost. He goes for the Dragon Pulse, which brings us down quite a bit, which tells me that it's specs because that is not normal damage for non-specs. So here comes back the Serena, and at this point, Skeletor's kind of served its role, and if I switch into Stealth Rocks, it's not going to survive anyway. So I just go ahead and let it go. Bringing in the Alolan Ninetales. To take it down with a Moonblast. I thought about going for Aurora Veil there, but I didn't really want to take any unnecessary chances. I just wanted to get rid of the threat. I thought a Blizzard might be able to take it out there, but it's not. Flash Cannon is able to take me out. Probably should have went for the Aurora Veil on that turn, but I don't mind the damage on the Jirachi because it can be a problem. Going back into Donphan, still not quite in Custap range, but we are now. I go for the Rapid Spin, and knowing for a fact that Custap's going to trigger on this turn, I go ahead and I go for the Earthquake to take out the Jirachi. And down it goes. It is now a 4-2 deficit in my favor. But now that the Custap's gone, basically Donphan's pretty much done everything it needs to do. It set up rocks, it got rid of a threat, utilize this Custap to its fullest, but we still go for the Endeavor anyway, just on the off chance that he doesn't go for the Extreme Speed, and it pays off. So now the Arcanine is basically stuck in here because it can't really switch back into rocks. Its spinner is gone. Goes for another Extreme Speed, which does quite a decent chunk, but an Ice Beam will be enough to take it out, and all that's left at this point is that Iron Valiant, which can turn the tides of the game on its own. It's that good at being a mixed attacker. It's able to clutch games out of nothing, but he goes for the Brick Break, and Paul is able to eat that relatively well. He reveals the substitute as I go for a Future Sight. And at this point, I thought about just going for like Chilly Receptions and whatnot, but I figured, nah, let's just stand, try to break the sub. That way, on the turn that Future Sight hits, it's not going into a substitute. So Paul goes down here, but this will also be the turn that Future Sight hits, and that will be enough to take out the Iron Valiant, granting us the 2-0 in game 1. Let's go into game 2. Just give me 1 second. Okay, in game 2, we have the same exact lead, being Serena and Donphan, but seeing the triple axle on game 1, I go straight into Skeledirge, not trying to play that, not trying to roll those dice. But he does go for the predicted triple axle, and it only hits one time. Not that it matters. Lefties brings us back up right up to full. And at this point, I know that Arcanine is Intimidate, so I know it's not Flash Fire, so Torch Song is a bit more free here. It goes for the Dragon Pulse, which does over half to me. And at this point, I'm trying to figure out if I want to potentially let the Croc go here and just go off, but nope, we go right into the Ninetales because we know its specs and Dragon Pulse is immune, so we just figure it's just safer to go this way rather than sacking the Croc. I believe we go for an Aurora Veil. Yep, we get up our screens as he brings in the Jirachi, and I go right back into Skeledirge because I don't want to try to switch in on the turn after he sets up rocks. We still have our lefties intact, which is nice, but he goes for a Thunder Wave here, which could potentially be annoying. He revealed that he's a special attacking Jirachi, so I don't have to worry about like Iron Head shenanigans and all that. But he goes into Arachnid, which kind of is a problem for the Skeledirge, not gonna lie. But with the screens up, I'm hoping it'll help. So he goes for a Crunch instead of a Liquidation, probably predicting the switch, and I forget about the ability Water Bubble, so that was a complete blunder on my part. I totally own that. So I go into Dawnfan to take the Liquidation, and it actually takes it pretty nicely. So once again, we are not quite in Custap range, but we are going to be here shortly, meaning right now. And now we're just going to go right for the Endeavor to get the Arachnid low enough where a Freeze Drive from the Iron Bundle will be able to take it out. And this will also be the turn that Aurora Veil does fade, so we are no longer behind screens. But here comes the Alolan Ninetales. The Freeze Drive from this should also be able to take it out. And I figure after I take out the Arachnid, I can set up more screens. After that, here comes Jirachi again. Now that my spinner is gone, that is a little unfortunate and does kind of make rocks a bit more detrimental. And the Skeledirge is not going to particularly appreciate that, but it is what it is. I really wanted those screens up just because I figured if I can get them up and start snowballing with Skeledirge, that it may not matter. Because hazards don't matter if you never switch, you know? So I go for the Torch Song. I know for a fact that Dragon Pulse is a guarantee to get KO, but with screens up, that should neutralize that a little bit. Yep, only doing 28%. So I go for the Shadow Ball. Not quite enough, but a Torch Song should be able to take it out from that range. And then it'll probably be fodder to whatever comes in next, because at this point, Rocks will take it out on switching, so there's no reason whatsoever. He goes into Serena, probably going to go for the knockoff here, just to guarantee the KO. Yep. It was fine. I mean, did pretty good work, I'd say. Going back into Iron Bundle, we're going to go for the Hydro Pump, and that's an easy one-hit KO. That's choice specs damage right there. And nothing else on the team really wants to take Hydro Pumps from this thing, so seems fitting. Goes for the Thunder Wave, which is really annoying. In testing, I actually tested against Choice Scarf Thunder Wave for some reason, so at least I was prepared to deal with Thunder Wave. So there's that. But Iron Bundle will go down to the Flash Cannon, but Jirachi is really low, but I do make one more blunder here. For some reason, I thought that Titan would be faster, but the snow is not up, so I just let that die for no reason. Had I gone into the Slow King instead of Chilly Reception and then went into Titan, I probably could have clutched this game, but alas, that is not what happened. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys a little spoiler. Because of that blunder that I did make, he is going to take Game 3, and I am going to actually concede to him. But don't let the screen fool you, because he is going to be the one to leave, but I'm actually the one that conceded. I just needed the replays to be able to upload, so he exited the room, that way I could get the replay. So yeah, that's basically Game 2. There were quite a few blunders this game that I probably could have done better on, in all honesty, but it is what it is. It happens. But otherwise, it was a fantastic game played by him. Not really too much more to say there. Yep, and that's me forfeiting. We're just going to call that a me forfeit, and let's just go ahead and go into Game 3. Okay, so I predict the Serena lead once again. I just go straight into Skeledirge, which he meets with the Arachnid. I know for a fact that we're not going to enjoy a liquidation here, so I go straight into Iron Bundle. The main thing that I want to do is I want to get this Araquanid out of the picture, just because this thing can be a real problem for my team if it sticks around. But knowing, well, honestly, the crit didn't really matter there because Mirror Coat probably still would have taken me out regardless, but it was just, just an unnecessary thing, I guess. But in comes the Ninetales to deal with the Arcanine to deal with the Ninetales. Excuse me, I can't speak proper English today, apparently. But I'm going to go straight into CrocNRoll here as he goes into Jirachi. I'm behind screens. I'm feeling pretty comfortable. Let's just start spamming the Torch songs. And I don't think Liquidation at this point is going to be doing too much. I was hoping a Shadow Ball would take it out here, but unfortunately it is not. Liquidation actually does a good chunk through screens, which caught me off guard, but that is a Terra water boosted Liquidation as well with the water bubble. But we go ahead and get up another Torch Song, which puts us up to doubling our special attack. Goes into Serena. I know for a fact a knockoff will not take me out just because of the Aurora Veil. So I go ahead and just go for a slack off here. Just get ourselves relatively healthy. We won't need the leftovers too much if we're healthy enough, so I just get us back up to full with slack off. He goes for the Volt Switch, because again he is Specs, so he doesn't particularly want to commit to a move that I can just switch into, because I have the Ninetales still to take the Dragon Pulse, and I have the Donphan still to take any electric attacks. So I do have that Raging Bolt somewhat in check. Serena does go down to a Torch Song. We're down to just below half. And he goes back into Raging Bolt. I know for a fact that Dragon Pulse will take me out, so I go ahead and swap into Paul. Take it. But just on the off chance that he went for Thunderbolt, I didn't want to go into Ninetales. But now that that's confirmed, I'm going to go for a Chilly Reception. Go straight into the Ninetales. And then we basically get a free turn to set up screens. So now we get our screens back up again. And so far, and I'll be honest, I didn't predict the Thunder Wave. I predicted the rocks, but either way, Donphan was the correct switch regardless. So now I go ahead and take this opportunity to set up rocks of my own, since his one spinner is gone, so I figured that could come in handy. He goes for the Brick Break, though, to remove my screens, which is unfortunate, but solid, So he goes for a knockoff. To knock off my Custap, so now I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to rely on that for cheeky plays later, but that's okay, because Donphan is able to take out the Iron Valiant. Arcanine does come in with that Intimidate. I go right back into Skeledirge because I know this Arcanine really cannot touch me. It doesn't matter how many curses he sets up, the Unaware ability is going to hard carry for this particular Arcanine set. Flare Blitz actually does get a crit though, but it's only doing 37%, so he would have to get multiple crits of me not slacking off in order for that to be relevant. Goes back into Raging Bolt to take on the Skeledirge, and he goes for a Hyper Voice, over-predicting my switch. Figured that was just a safe bet to go for overall, just in case I go for Donphan or Ninetales. But since I didn't switch, he's going to be forced to switch into the Arcanine, and I'm just going to continue betting up. So him over-predicting there really worked to our benefit there, just because, one, he takes more Stealth Rocks damage on entry, and we know we're not 2-hit, and we know we're 2-hit KO, which means we will get at least one more attack off, which a Shadow Ball will take out the Raging Bolt from that range. And now his last two Pokemon are not able to deal with this Skeledirge. So this is basically the writing on the walls here. I go ahead and go for another Future Sight. Or he goes for a Future Sight, I go for another Slack Off just to get myself healthy again. At this point, like I said, writing's on the wall here. It doesn't matter what he does. We're just going to keep getting stronger and stronger, and he's not able to deal enough damage to the Skeledirge to really be able to, for it to really matter. Even the Morning Sun is not going to be able to out-heal the damage I do with Shadow Ball. So down goes the Arcanine to a Shadow Ball. And then the last Pokemon is, of course, Jirachi, which takes super effective damage from both of my stabs. So in the end, that will be the game after I'm slacking off for reasons I can't even begin to justify because I had game regardless, but I figured keep myself as healthy as possible. Shadow Ball takes it down to about 21% after leftovers, and then we will take it down with the last move of the game, which is Shadow Ball. So we end up getting the victory 2-1. Great game, Scotland, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.